before we let Josh go, just one thing, just about Liverpool and the new ownership. Josh, potentially we might have new owners very, very soon. There have been a few people in the administration, in the hierarchy, leaving the club. Uh, how do you see the role, or do you see Jurgen Klopp's role changing at the club in the near future or long term? And is Jurgen Klopp a huge fan of Jude Bellingham?
Uh,
I'm in love with him and I feel fine. So I think when I say these words, I'm sure you are aware who I'm talking about. Of course, we're going to be speaking about Jurgen Klopp and Jurgen the documentary that the Anfield Wrap has got out. And because of that, Josh joins us once again. Josh, welcome back to Menace in the Monk. The last time we had you, Josh, there was a word which we were using quite often, which was quadruple. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But it was a great season. We lost, unfortunately, against Real Madrid. We faced them again in the round of 16. What do you made of the season so far, Josh?
it's been a strange one, hasn't it? First of all, thank you guys for having me back on. It's good to speak to you guys again. But I think when we were speaking about the quadruple last time, we were sort of going in with cautious optimism, weren't we? There was obviously an appreciation of the fact that no team had ever been in the position that Liverpool got themselves into to have even taken that down. We were speaking about it almost early-ish on in the process, but to have taken it down to effectively the last two games of the season, or literally the last two games of the season, was absolutely incredible by anybody's standards, and just shows, as I say, that the sort of standards that this side have been setting for themselves and for the rest of European football, to be honest. So yeah, I guess this season almost feels like a disappointment off the back of that, in terms of the way we started and it being a mixed start. But I guess there are some sort of green shoots of recovery that we've seen, particularly in sort of recent months before we broke up for the World Cup. In terms of Liverpool being able to get back on track, whether that is getting themselves back into a title race, which at the moment feels far-fetched, but we'll see what this weird season can offer up with the World Cup. But certainly securing progression in the Champions League, and hopefully I won't use the word revenge on Real Madrid because I know Mo Salah was using that last time and it didn't quite work for us. So I'll just say, for us getting hopefully a nice win over two legs against Real Madrid.
That'll be insane. That'll be insane if we get one over Real
Yeah.
Madrid. Sorry, Nidhi, you were saying.
It's due. But so guys, before we get started, the reason why we are doing this is, you must know, as a Liverpool fan, you must know the Anfield Wrap is coming up with an absolute brilliant 5-part documentary. It's called Jurgen. The first episode is available on YouTube for free, but from there on, please download the Anfield Wrap app, the Anfield Wrap app. I will mention the link in the description, so have a look at it. The 5 episodes, the 4 episodes after this are going to be available on the app. It is going to be absolutely brilliant. We've just seen the first episode. Manas, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
I mean, yeah, we'll get into it because we have Josh after a long time. So, apart from the documentary, Josh, how is Jurgen like? Have you met him in person? How is the equation like with the Anfield Rap with Jurgen? Because we've never met him. I mean, it's a dream for us to, just have a word with him. I'm sure you must have met him, right?
Yeah, it's as you say, it sort of is, I guess, every Liverpool fan's dream to meet the man who's brought us so many happy memories. I was lucky enough to, so I've met him once during my time at Anfield. There's a few people who are even luckier than myself to have met him a couple of times. I met him in Boston on the pre-season tour when we did an interview with him there, and he was everything you'd expect him to be. That was obviously after the Champions League win, so we got to sort of talk to him about that, talk to him about his 24 hours around that final, and as I say, he's everything that you want him to be as a person, as a leader of an organisation that that we have invested interest in, but especially as a sort of manager of a football club, because I think that's the most important thing. If Jurgen was a great man but a really bad football manager, then maybe we wouldn't sort of care as much about him being a great man. But the fact is, he's one of the best managers in world football, and also is a person who speaks to all of our hearts. I think whether you're a Liverpool fan who lives in Liverpool and is somebody who has an affinity to the city, or just somebody who has an affinity to the football club, wherever you are around the world, I think there's something that you can relate to Jurgen Klopp with, because he's just that sort of man. He's incredible.
Absolutely. And Josh, we had, like I said, we had a look at the first episode, and you guys went back to Glatten. You guys went and spoke to his childhood friends, his coaches, the people that he's played with, the people who shaped the man that Jurgen Klopp is today. And we also like to, and it's very plain to see that Jurgen Klopp is a special man. This is not someone ordinary that we are talking about, and so is our club, if I may say so. So going back there, does it make sense? Does the connection between Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, does that make more sense now to you?
I think so, yeah, because he's now spent as much time in Liverpool as he did in Mainz or Dortmund, which I think is a sort of important detail of us wanting to tell that story, because I think in Liverpool we quite often get accused of sort of exceptionalism and thinking that our football club is the be all and end all, when there's hundreds of other football clubs in England and millions of them worldwide. So why is our football club special? But I think you get to see from this documentary that he was just as special to people in Mainz at the time. He was just as special to people in Dortmund as he is to us here in Liverpool. But that sort of, I think, almost increases the I guess wonder around the man, because we know that he's not he's not just ours. He's other people's as well. But that I feel like ties the story of who Jurgen Klopp is as a person with a sort of nice bow on it, because as I say, he's an incredible man, an incredible football manager. You get to sort of get more of an insight into how he got to where he is in terms of stature in world football, but also how he became the person that he is, that we see in front of us now, and the experiences that sort of helped shape that on the football pitch, off the football pitch, and those kind of things. And we think this is a really good insight into who he is as a person and a manager.
Nidhi, you mentioned about, dare I say, our club as well, what makes our club so special as well. One thing which I just want to mention is that probably many people will be watching because of the Anfield Wrap. I'm sure this is on our channel, so many new people will be watching this. But, just the city as well, it's just so amazing. And the people, I mean, Nidhi and me both have been fortunate enough to visit Liverpool twice and see multiple games. And even the Evertonians are just so sweet. Apart from football, you meet them in a pub or something. It's just a family vibe, and we've had great experiences over there. And that is something which makes both the clubs very special as well, because just the feel good factor, and they're very welcoming. Josh, coming back to the documentary, Jürgen, why now? Why do it now? Is because, did you had it planned before COVID hit and then it got delayed? Because we won the league in 2020, we won the Champions League in 2019. The man and the team achieved something which had not been done for 30 years, a few years back. Why now?
I think in part, sort of out of necessity of the World Cup coming up and us needing to provide some Liverpool content. But as I mentioned before, the idea that he's now spent as much time in Liverpool as he did in Mainz or Dortmund, we think that's that makes the hook of the story worth telling. And obviously, there's always a story to tell about Jurgen Klopp in terms of how great he is as a man and a manager, and there's sort of never a bad time to bring that. But we think that, as I say, having now spent that amount of time here, wanting to go and hear stories from Mainz and Dortmund, to just sort of almost, I don't know if comparing experiences is the right thing, because we all have different experiences, and Jurgen Klopp's experiences as a inexperienced manager in Mainz, and then as a sort of coming force in Europe as a coach at Dortmund, to what he is and how he's regarded now at Liverpool. Even in the first episode, one of our contributors, Damien, references that when Rodgers was first Brendan Rodgers was first linked with the move away from Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp was one of the names that Liverpool fans were saying, and that was probably a year before he actually came to be Liverpool manager, because that was how highly regarded he was in world football at the time. There's plenty of clubs who, would have loved to have Jurgen Klopp as their manager then, because of how much of a romantic story he'd built with Borussia Dortmund. So the fact that we can sort of sit here now and say, well, he spent as much time in Liverpool, we want to tell that story, and we think we can, do a good job of that. But then also we want to travel to, as you say, Glatten, Frankfurt as well, where he spent most of his sort of playing days, Mainz, where he spent the back end of his playing days, and then the start of his managerial career, and Dortmund too, where, as we know, he was so wildly successful.
Well, I must ask you this, Josh, and I had a look at. I mean, we sort of Manas and I, by the way, watched the documentary together, and I was just amazed by how extensive this was, because this looks like a top class production. How tough was this to? How tough was it to execute this? Because you're talking about a lot of moving pieces here.
Yeah, it is tough, and ultimately, in sort of relative terms, we are a small business. We employ 13 staff full time, so as you say, there's moving parts to that. We've had basically two, if not most of the time, three of our 4-man strong video team flying all over Germany in particular, but flying all over the place really to film parts of this. We've had to pull in some sort of favors from other countries as well of interviews you'll come to see in the documentary, but having help from people in America in particular who've helped us along the way doing bits of filming and bits of recording is just sort of been an incredible experience. And then even for us the team at home, I'm lucky enough to have done some of the interviews here on sort of British soil, but also to have been in the office when other people have been out and about doing things, and I guess it's just everybody being prepared to shift jobs at times and fill in work when somebody else has to be off, and reacting to some things just cropping up last minute, some opportunities cropping up last minute. So there are plenty of moving parts, and there's loads of sort of pitfalls along the way as well, but this is the reason why you do it, is because we get to sit here on release day now and be so proud of what we have produced, because we do think it's extensive, and we are really proud of how it looks, how it feels, how it sounds. So yeah, it's definitely a sort of proud day for everybody at the Anfield Wrap, especially the guys who have, as I say, flown all over the place to make this happen, and lugging loads and loads of heavy video equipment around to do that as well.
I mean, I just want to say, Josh, it is very inspiring for fellow content creators. You guys do stuff straight from the heart, and it's so inspiring. And you could see that in the first episode itself, it is like I couldn't take my eyes off for it even for a second. The entire 34 minutes was very warm, and you just love the man, and you just want to know more, even though you feel but still you want to know more. We'll get back to Jurgen, the first episode and the documentary, but just on a lighter note, guys. Nidhi, I'll start with you. Which is your favorite Jurgen Klopp memory? It's tough. It's very tough, because he has given us something which in our lifetime we have never seen. He's won the Champions League as well, his press conferences, etc. What has been your favorite Klopp memory, Nidhi, or moment?
Look, I think there are some obvious ones. When he hugged Hendo after winning the Champions League, and the whole celebration around the Premier League win, that interview with Jamie Carragher that he had. I mean, the man was bawling. And he's not even from Liverpool. It's like you could almost feel that he's so happy. But I'll tell you one underrated sort of, it's not underrated, but one of the moments that I really thought that this is the guy who's going to take us forward is after we lost the Champions League final in Kiev. And of course we were there, Manas. Josh was there as well. And then it's in a strange way, it felt like, what if this is the pinnacle? What if it all comes crashing down after this? Because we have been used to that in the recent years, at least in our lifetimes. And then comes Jurgen Klopp's video dancing with the supporters, and that gives you hope. And hope is the biggest thing that I associate with Jurgen. It has always been about hope and the fight. So that's my favorite moment, but there have been so many others.
Josh, for you?
Niddy covers that in such great detail there. I think I'd have to say the Champions League final, the one we won in Madrid, sort of, being there and being a part of that experience, and I guess that there is that sort of thing that Niddy says there of Jurgen taking on something so much and putting his whole heart into it, and you can see that he's done that at the other clubs he's been at, but there almost is that connection there because he's German, so to do that at two great clubs in Germany, Mainz and Dortmund, obviously would mean the world to him, but to come to this basically small city in the United Kingdom and to make it his home to the extent that he has, to make it a part of his heart and his personality in the way that he has, is just incredible. And I think you see that in Madrid after the game. He's clearly so proud of himself for getting to that point. He's proud of his coaching staff who've helped him get to that point, but those players as well. And I guess Jordan Henderson in particular, because I always think back to Jurgen Klopp's first press conference where he says about the idea of that team under him and under his reign, the fans and everything having to respect the history of Liverpool, but to not let it wear them down in their backpacks. And I think that was a sort of really important moment for me, because I think that there are managers and players at Liverpool in the past who have, I think, been weighed down by the history of the club and the weight of the shirt and the reputation that comes with playing for Liverpool Football Club. But Jurgen Klopp has not been weighed down by that, but he has so much respect for that. But then you almost see it in these outpourings of emotion after he wins a trophy. As Niddy said, when we won the Premier League, and he's crying on Sky with Jamie Carragher and drinking his beer, and particularly after that Champions League final, the moments, that video that follows him round for I think like 5 minutes after the final whistle is just absolutely incredible. And to be there in the stadium to have witnessed that and got to share that moment with not only thousands of other Reds, but also the players on the pitch and Jurgen and his staff was just an incredible moment.
What has it been for you, Manas?
I mean, you guys have just covered everything. It's very tough to I mean, by the way, I paid a lot of money for this, the Echo, when we won the title, the front page.
Amazing.
I got 3 copies of it just in case.
This obviously was I mean, I'm going to keep this for the rest of my life. This is just a moment that I'll tell everyone. I mean, when we won, I remember Nidhi and me, and we were in the midst of COVID in India. It was really bad, and we couldn't step out. And here's this football team, thousands and thousands of miles away, in the midst of a shithole. We get probably the best day of our lives, So Jurgen Klopp gave us that. And also, I mean, very underrated, but every time when he does the triple fist pump, every time it gives me hope. It makes me smile. It makes me happy. No matter where I am in life, what's happening during the day, what I have to look forward to, I will look at that Twitter video or on Instagram. I'll watch it 10 times because at different parts of the week, because it just provides me with so much hope and happiness. It doesn't get old. So every win, every fist pump that Jurgen Klopp does is probably the best moment that Klopp provides. And it's a gift that keeps on giving. And I hope we see this beyond 2026, because
100%.
I mean, I have been fortunate enough to witness it thrice personally, but it never gets old. Even on a television set, even if you're there, it's hope. It's hope. It makes you smile. And yeah, that's the best thing that Jurgen has done for us, because it just uplifts me every freaking time, man.
Absolutely. I think, it's absolutely surreal to watch it in person, and it just fills your heart with hope. So definitely, I would attest to that. Josh, I want to talk a little bit about the Anfield Wrap. Of course, you guys started it in 2011, Gareth and Andy and Neil. And that was not a great time because we'd just come off of the Hicks and Gillette ownership, and there were not a lot of good things to talk about Liverpool then. How happy was this experience? I know it was tough, and you mentioned that, but how happy were you? How I'm sure there would have been some pretty wide smiles across the crew.
I mean, the whole sort of journey under Jurgen has felt like that, hasn't it? Coming from the sort of almost a low starting point. You know, I mean, he said it himself in his first press conference, didn't he? Coming from that sort of doubters to believers and having so much belief. You know, when you're first working on a project like this, I wouldn't say you start with doubt, but you're starting with a blank canvas, aren't you? You're starting with, I guess, basically hope would be the way to view it, but not you're not sort of sure on expectations yet. And then as it comes together, it's just incredible to see it, and you know, it's testament to how much talent we have now in the Anfield Wrap, but it's gone from strength to strength so much over the past sort of 10, nearly 11 years. It's coming up to now of sort of being, you know, being an entity. And since its inception, I've been here since 2016, so I've sort of been lucky enough to almost just piggyback off the back of Klopp coming into Liverpool and the success that he's brought since then. But I mean, you can't imagine all of it to be any other way, because, you know, as you said before, Menace, you know, the hope that Jurgen Klopp brings, the belief that he brings, but also I think just the element of fun, because even though supporting Liverpool has always been a thing to be proud of, and nobody's ever sort of, you know, embarrassed by it or anything, it's not all, it doesn't mean it's always been fun. You know, certainly not throughout my lifetime, there's never been so much sort of unity, and it's not been so much fun. It's not always been, you know, fun to be in Liverpool, the city. I think you know, it's fair to say the city has had some huge challenges down the years, but when you come here now, and I do think that Jurgen is such a big contributor to that, it feels like it's, you know, almost like the center of the universe. It feels like it is fun to be here again. That party atmosphere is certainly back, and Jurgen Klopp is partly to thank for that. This Liverpool team is partly to thank for that, but it's just that idea of you know, hope and belief, and having that common cause to get behind. Because if there's anything that Jurgen Klopp has done, he is completely united this fan base behind him.
Certainly. I mean, all around the world, whenever I think about Liverpool Football Club now, I'm happy. That's something that Jurgen Klopp has done. And like you mentioned, it wasn't the case always. It used to be quite stressful at times, but now it's just happiness and optimism. Speak of optimism, I'm very much looking forward to the next 4 episodes, Josh, of the documentary. By the way, you have to download the Anfield Wrap app to watch them. For the first episode is out now. It's free to watch on YouTube. But Josh, what can we expect in the next episode, or probably the rest of the documentary?
Yeah, so at the moment, the titles and themes can sort of shift a little bit, but at the moment, the provisional title for the next episode is The Blueprint. So it's going to go, you know, a bit more into exploring Jurgen Klopp's sort of, I guess, methods as a manager. With the first episode, you know, covers the challenges he had to overcome to even get to where he is in his career, and goes through the sort of four or five key places that he's been to in his career to tell that story. So the second episode will be, you know, building upon that, looking more into his time at Mainz, more into his time at Dortmund, and more into his time at Liverpool, and sort of, I guess, the way he's been able to model the success that we've all been able to celebrate, and sort of, I guess all piggyback off in certain ways.
Nidhi, I know you have a question, but Josh, does Jurgen Klopp feature in this? Does he know this is happening?
No, so you know, Neil wrote something for us yesterday, which went out to like our newsletter subscribers, which I think was almost important in this sense, is that sometimes when you do a documentary on people like this, the person at the heart of it can almost become the executive producer, and it becomes, you know, a project that's solely about them. And I don't think Jurgen Klopp would ever want it to be that way. I think he'd want, you know, to tell the stories of the people who surrounded him throughout his life and throughout his football journey. But no, so we've been sort of completely unofficial on this. Jurgen Klopp doesn't necessarily, you know, well, we've not told him it's happening. He may know it's happening now, but we've certainly not told him it's happening. So hopefully one day we get to you know, show it to him or something. That would be nice. That would be a nice full circle way to bring it around.
That'd be so cool. That'd be so cool.
Can't believe how surreal that will be. Josh, I want to talk about the Anfield Wrap a little bit, and in the context of India and the subcontinent. Now, football is growing extremely rapidly here in India, in Nepal, in Pakistan, the neighboring countries. And the Anfield Wrap, you know, Manas and we've been early subscribers. We've always spoke about the episodes. Like I said, you know, 2011 is when you started. and it's one of the absolute best when it comes to covering Liverpool. So do you have anything to say to the subcontinent? What can we look forward to as because Liverpool's fan base is very strong here in India. I can speak for India, and I'm sure it is the case. Like we see videos from Vietnam, we see videos from Singapore, these kind of countries. It's extremely popular. So what can we expect as Liverpool fans who don't live in the UK or Liverpool as such?
I guess, expect the roller coaster that it's going to be. It's not always been this way. It's not always been the sort of nicest journey, but you have to take the rough with the smooth. And I think Jurgen Klopp's time at Liverpool, even though we can look back on it and point to all the high points, that there have still been low moments. You mentioned the loss in Kiev, though it felt like the start of the journey, and luckily it was now. At the time, it was a low moment. There have been other low moments at that time, but it's the response to setbacks, I think, that is so important for Jurgen as a person throughout his sort of football career, for Liverpool as a football club as well. It's literally in the slogan, and you'll never walk alone, that your dreams may be tossed and blown, but you have to keep moving on. And that's one of the things I love about seeing Liverpool's global support, I guess, is how much people have bought into that. It's why I've loved coming on and speaking to you guys, because to see your passion about Liverpool and how much it sort of inspires you to not only want to create content around it, but to want to get up at whatever times around the world that people will get up and watch Liverpool games, and people having whiskey with their morning coffee if there's a Liverpool game on early enough on different sides of the world. That's so inspiring to us in Liverpool, to know that there are so many people around the world who buy into this and enjoy this as much as we do. So I'd say, if anyone is just getting into Liverpool now and thinks it's always this way, it won't be. So strap yourselves in, because it will always be a ride, but there'll always be some fun moments along the way to enjoy.
Of course, and before we let Josh go, just one thing, just about Liverpool and the new ownership. Josh, potentially we might have new owners very, very soon. There have been a few people in the administration, in the hierarchy, leaving the club. Uh, how do you see the role, or do you see Jurgen Klopp's role changing at the club in the near future or long term? And is Jurgen Klopp a huge fan of Jude Bellingham?
Uh, I think we'd all like to hope that Jurgen Klopp is a huge fan of Jude Bellingham. I think anybody with eyes at the moment will be able to see that Jude Bellingham is an incredible football player, isn't he? So yeah, I hope that Jurgen Klopp is a fan. I hope he can do a bit more sweetening to that deal. I mean, Jordan Henderson, Trent Alexander-Arnold are working hard enough, it seems. So so we might not have to do anything else, but. No, I'd love to see Jude in a Liverpool shirt, but as you say, like I think one of the things that it's important to always point out with football is that people say these things go in cycles, and it's because there are ups and downs, and the downs at the moment for some Liverpool fans is nerves around what's going to happen next with the ownership. Liverpool fans have been stung by bad owners sort of fleecing the club in the past, and they're worried that could come to be the case again. Whether it becomes a sports washing nation that owns Liverpool, you'd hope that the FSG have the best interest of the club at heart and don't allow that. But there's every chance it can go the other way as well. And FSG, for all their faults and the things they've done wrong, they've not run the club into the ground. The club is in a really healthy financial position. So you'd like to hope that whoever comes in next has those same things, and then maybe just maybe wants to spend a bit more in the transfer market to keep us and fans across the world happy. And as I say, a little move for Jude Bellingham would be no bad thing, would it?
Yeah, it would be absolutely wonderful if it happens. I love the flirtation that is happening between the trio. Every time you look at a video, Jude, Trent, and Henderson are sitting together, they're chilling together. So that's great to see. But interesting times for Liverpool Football Club. Josh, thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it. We'll take your final words. But the first episode of Jürgen, the documentary, is available on YouTube. It's free to watch, and you can download the Anfield Wrap app for all the other episodes. And I mean, I don't know whether such people exist when it comes to Liverpool supporters. If you haven't followed these guys on Twitter or Instagram, please do that their bios, the links will be mentioned in the description. Yes, Nidhi, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I'm saying we will mention all the links. That includes the link to the first episode, the link to the app. It is available on both iOS and Android. We will also link the Anfield Wrap's social media handles, YouTube channels handle. Please go ahead and subscribe and follow these guys. I'm sure as a Liverpool fan, you must be doing that. But if you are in some weird 0.2%, please go ahead and do that.
And George, before we let you go, your predictions for Real Madrid, Liverpool?
Oh, it's tough. It still feels like a lifetime away, to be honest.
Are we going to see Arthur score a 30-yard screamer?
I think it'll be Jude Bellingham by that point who'll be scoring the 30-yard screamer. That would be nice. I mean, there's probably more chance of that than Arthur doing it. But no, obviously looking forward, I'd take Liverpool scoring more goals than Real Madrid over the course of the two legs. But I'll go for 3-1 on aggregate to Liverpool. I'll take that.
Wow. On that bold and positive note, let's end this video. This was Josh from the Anfield Wrap, and this was Menace the Monk. I know this is in the midst of the World Cup, but we can't wait for life to resume, with Liverpool resuming against Manchester City in the League Cup. Until then, guys, take care and up the fucking Reds. Take care.